welcome back to Basic Banter for Witches. It's Jessica again on like a semi-solo episode. Britanani is not here. Little man is under the weather. But I do have a lovely little co-host with me today. You might remember her from
Hello.
last season. Emily Dexter, aka Liker of Words.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to start with like the last time you were on. It was like the best. Okay, it was the best worst. Now hear me out because it's like worst. What does that mean? I was like, my daughter was driving me up the fucking wall. My husband was driving me up the fucking wall. And I was like, I have wanted her on our podcast for so long, and I like felt so terrible because you deserved so much more of my attention. And I was like, this I have waited for, and I was like fangirling. I'm still fangirling. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I have literally thought about it for like a year or whatever it was. I'm like,
Well, first of all, release that pressure off of yourself because it's fine. Also, like I live and exist in chaos. I have three tweens at
yeah,
present. So like you're
yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah. But I like literally like, I know I'll release it now because I'm like, oh God, I've just been waiting to tell her how bad I felt about that episode. And like, I loved it. I loved it. But I was like, fuck, I wanted to be there like more like present in the moment. I was like,
yeah.
so thank you so much for coming back and like giving me another chance to like earn your friendship.
Oh my God. Well, first of all, totally friends. We're all good. Friendship earned. No stress.
Yay.
But also, like, thank you. I mean, we've been trying to schedule this and it's been like back and forth. And like this year has just been, I think, absolutely wild for everybody. Like, no
Yeah.
one has had a super chill year. It's just, it's been a lot. So we
Yes.
made it. We got here, and that's
We
what
totally
matters.
did. Exactly. Now, yeah, like in terms of like, it's been a crazy year. You've been on a couple trips. Well, one with
Yeah.
your group, and then one was you. Anyways, I'll just let you tell us a little bit maybe about the first
Yeah,
trip.
so
You
we
went.
started doing we've started doing ancient wisdom retreats. So basically if anyone follows my content, I've been doing a lot of channeled history content where I channel in people who lived in the ancient past and kind of get their stories. I have a big passion for just like real humans getting to tell their stories versus like the history books and like us piecing together things from history, whether that is like via archaeology or we find historical documents and historians deal with it. It's all just bits and pieces. So for me, I have a huge passion of like, well, I can talk to those people. Like those people lived in ancient times. Let's chat with them and see what they say. And
Yeah.
I've learned a lot. And I've been writing my book about a woman who lived in ancient Rome for kind of a long time now, but it's
Yeah.
very involved. And so that's kind of where it started. So I've been doing a lot of that channeled history content and talking to a lot of people. So my husband, my incredible husband, got us a trip to Italy this past spring. So we went to Italy so I could actually go honestly just go cry in the places where the main character of my book stood,
As one does.
which is
As one
what I
does.
did.
Yeah.
I went like and very obscure sort of places. Like I wasn't particularly drawn to like the Roman Forum or anything because that wasn't necessarily like her vibe. I like wanted to go to these different places where I knew she had walked, and like so we went to a wonderful place called Ostia Antica, which is basically like think Pompeii without the volcano. It used to be
Okay.
the port town of ancient Rome, and then the river moved and it kind of faded into obscurity. So it's incredibly well preserved. But she had been there, so we walked around and Nero's Golden Palace, which is buried underneath basically nearby the Colosseum, walked around there and she lived there for a while. So I like poor tour guide because I'm just like sobbing on this tour. And she's like,
Yeah.
I don't know what's sad.
I think I saw that on one of your stories. You were like, no, was that in Rome? You went to Rome as well, right?
That
I've
was in
seen
Rome, yeah.
that was in Rome. Okay, because I'm like, oh, it's when you like saw it over the hill, and you're like, oh, yeah. Anyways, sorry, go on.
Yeah. Yeah. So I sobbed. Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah,
And she's like, I'm talking about like one of the worst Roman emperors in history, and you're like crying. I'm like, I know, I'm sorry, tour guide person. Like, I apologize. Anyway, so we did Rome, and then we had two group trips. So we took a group trip to Greece, and we went and channeled history like at the Parthenon and the Acropolis, and did some channeled history. Like we climbed up a volcano and spoke with Hephaestus. Like it was really, really cool. And did that. And then we also went to Ireland, so where you are. And
I
I was
know.
so bummed, like our schedules didn't like mesh.
It's totally fine. I know. I was like, I'm like, have to like let her know. She's always welcome. I'm like, whatever. So next time you come,
Yes.
we'll definitely make something work. At one point in our lives, we will physically meet. I'm manifesting it. That's so
It's
good.
gonna happen. It's gonna
Yeah,
happen. And we will. I mean, I want to go back
it's
for
bound to
sure.
happen.
Yeah. But that was also a group trip. And it was really cool because we went to, a bunch of there's like 30,000 castles. So we went to a bunch of
It's
castles, of course.
literally,
Um,
yeah.
There's so many. But also we went to the Rock of Cashel, which is
Yes.
really neat and very interesting as far as channeling goes, because there's a whole bunch of layers of history that sit in
Yeah.
that space. So that was very neat. And then our sweet tour guide, he was with us the whole trip. Whenever we do an ancient wisdom retreat, we have a tour guide for the whole time. And he
Yeah.
had called his sister, who's like witchy, and he was like, "Where do I take these people?" Where-
Oh, exactly. Oh, that's
um,
great. Did she
right.
join?
And
I feel
so
like
she
she
was like,
should have joined.
right. She was in Canada. So she was like, "Well, you should take them to old cool rocks. If there's cool magical rocks, take them there."
Take
And
them
so he
there.
found us like an Owam stone we could go and like hug.
Yes. Oh,
And so he found us one that was like not on someone's private property, right? And so he
yeah.
like took us there and like we like had to like jump off the bus really quick because it was like not a parking, there's no parking area.
It's just
And we
like,
like scooted over and got to like channel the Fae and like hug the Owam stone and like what it was really cool. He had no idea what was going on, but we appreciated it.
but you know what? The fact that he was like willing to be like, all right, okay, we're gonna you want to do that? We're gonna make sure that happens. That's fantastic.
Yeah. So,
We
but
I
yeah, so it's been a really fun year.
yeah, that's amazing. I was gonna say we have a fairy circle, not in my yard, but in like we're in like an acreage kind of type of lot. So like on the back roads, and there's a farmland, like just like a stone's throw this way. And he's got a fairy circle kind of tucked up in there. So I don't know if you are familiar with the fairy circle. So it was a tree was had grown there at once and dropped all of its like seeds around it, and then that tree no longer exists. It's just kind of like a hole almost. And but it's like the circle of
Mhm.
like it's like a pathway to get to the center. It's really beautiful. But I went there last year and I froze. I'm sorry. I went there last
Oh, you're
year.
good. You're good.
Oh, there you go. I'm like, I don't know. Sorry.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I'd gone there last year, but I wasn't like prepared to fully enter it because I like basically wanted like I talked to the owner of the land. I was like, hey, is it okay if I go back there? And he's like, oh yeah, like he's an old Irishman. He's like, yeah, I couldn't really understand him, but I got the go ahead anyways. So I had kind of just like approached it, sat on the outskirts, and I'm like, you know what, before I even enter it, like I need to have like not a sacrifice, but like a gift for the Fae. Do you know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
like, I didn't bring anything. I'm like,
Yeah.
so like before I like my intentions are pure. I just want to go and like check it out, and, meditate or whatever I want to do there. And but I'm like, I wasn't ready yet. So I like have to the time has to be right. So I haven't felt it's been the appropriate time to go back yet. So, when you're called.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
no, that's really cool
yeah.
though. I'm excited for you. But yes,
Yeah.
definitely bring a gift.
Yeah. Bring it. I was like, oh my God. I literally me, my sister-in-law went, I was like, I'm not ready. I'm like, this is beautiful. But like I took some pictures on the outside or whatever, but I'm like, nope, I can't, not yet. I'm not ready for it, and you don't want it. The Fae are, as you are aware, like very serious here. So in terms of the
Yeah.
superstitions, but yeah, respect them anyways. I was gonna ask, so now when
Yeah.
you go
I
into
mean, they're
these,
very real and very present.
absolutely. Actually, I always like it's easy to spot. I shouldn't say it's easy to spot, but when I'm like driving or walking, and I'm kind of not seeing
Mhm.
something out of place, but if I like notice that like some plants are waving a little bit faster or in a different direction, if the winds, do you know what I mean? I actually always make a point to like wave and say like hello because I don't know. And like, thank you for letting me walk
No, it's a
here
very good
safely.
call.
Like, yeah, because it's like better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah.
Waving at the bushes, talking to the plants. That's what I do.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Now,
they're around. I mean, in my experience there, when we were there, like it was pretty easy and distinctive to be like, oh, there's something. Oh, they're over there. They're hanging. Like the
yeah.
energy is just different. And we have fairies here too. They're very different though, which I
Hmm.
mean, they would be. It's an entirely different culture.
Hmm.
So it's definitely interesting the
Yeah.
differences because
Yeah. Because that's not something that you would necessarily channel, but like it is just like, but you're right, is that energy is so distinct.
yeah, I've channeled the fairies quite a bit actually.
I really do.
So
That's
I did a whole YouTube video on it a while back because I think it's really important to note like the cultural differences. Like when I say I channeled the fairies, I am not talking about channeling into like the ancient pagan Celtic lore.
yeah.
Or even Germanic lore around fairies or anything like that. I'm just channeling into the beings that have like reached out to me and the information they want to give me. So I never want to like step on anyone's toes there because I know there is like a lot of pagan belief there that I have not studied.
Yeah.
just haven't done that. So I can't speak to that, but I can speak to like channeling experiences I've had with the Fae, which have been quite extensive via like astral travel stuff. I've done some astral
Yeah.
travel into like sort of fairy realm stuff. We also have a darling fairy that lives in our kitchen. His name is Cinnamon. And he hangs out. Um,
So cute.
yeah, yeah, he identified himself. He spilt cinnamon everywhere and was very clear with like, this is what you call me. So
This is my name.
he's around. I got a couple of them in here in my office that came in attached to a plant I have over there that I can't really turn my computer around to show you, but it exists
Don't
over
worry
there.
about it.
So I've definitely channeled and worked with them a little bit, and there's just so much. It's like we live in a world and in a plane of existence where we have like one predominant sentient being species that exists, just humans. That is not the case there. There are so many thousands of different types of beings and species that have their own cultures and their own understanding. And yeah, so you can channel them. It's definitely a thing. And they also do overlap Venn diagram style with our own reality.
Wow. That's amazing. I mean, I feel like, yeah, of course. I mean, it's like, yeah, naturally, it does make sense. I guess because we don't see it or like recognize it. Like back when I was living in Canada, I'm like, I never thought to look for fairies. Do you know what I mean? Because at that point, we didn't talk about, that sort of being there, right? Where it's like, oh, it's just the lore that we hear from like overseas and like the Celtic history. But obviously, they're like anything, it's just like it's present. There's history books
Yeah,
that I know that you're probably writing. Yeah. I was gonna
I'm
ask,
working on it.
yeah. So you've got obviously the one that you're working on, but I was gonna ask more in terms of the channeling. Now, when you go to like places like the Parthenon or like any of those stones, and you're channeling in these
Yeah.
beings, because I know I think I touched on this last time, I believe, but like in your form of channeling, you have like clear, is it clear audience? Like, do you hear it? Do you feel it? What's your
Yeah. So I have a combo platter, which most people do in their
Mhm.
own ways. For me, I'm very claircognizant. I have a lot of that, which is your just knowing. So I have a just knowing first, and then I tune into both clairvoyance, so I can see stuff. I can see energy with my physical eyes constantly all the time. That's not one I've never even thought to turn it off because it's so normal to me. I had to actually focus and be like, oh, I actually see things different. That's weird. So I have that all the time. But when I go to like see beings, etc., then I will kind of turn on my like inner eye clairvoyance.
Hmm.
So clairvoyance and then clairaudience, which is clear sight and then clear hearing. So those will kind of combo in, and then I will oftentimes get validation for all of the stuff that I just channeled, either
Yeah.
via physical sensation, emotional sensation, occasionally a smell, but that only typically happens. The smell only typically happens if I'm doing like mediumship work for somebody. So like channeling
Hmm.
their past loved one as they send like a smell validation. I have
Yeah.
barely any sense of smell in like real human life. My nose does not work basically at all. So whenever I get a smell, I'm like, oh, that's not me.
Gonna take it. Exactly. So I'm just gonna like take. Oh my goodness, before I scratch it. Oh, that's fabulous. So like, yeah. So then when you're channeling, like you're just like the group representative touching bit, like channeling back, and are they asking questions or like I guess yeah, what does it kind of look like when you're doing that?
So I do it in a couple different ways. So if I feel a presence that is there, like a ghost
Hmm.
or spirit, or even just like a residual energy that somebody left in that space,
Hmm.
then I will reach out and talk to them. Ghost communication is a little bit different than channeled history stuff. The reason for that is ghosts are still doing their thing. They're still
Exactly.
around. They still have a life. They're still hanging out. And so occasionally, often there'll be a ghost and I'll just acknowledge their presence, be like, hello, like, do you want to talk? And half the time they're like, whoa, go away. Like, do
Oh,
you?
I
I don't want to
see.
be perceived right now. And
Yeah,
then other times
exactly.
they're like, oh, hey, who are you? You're weird. How can you see me? This is an odd thing. Like, let me talk to you. I'm all about this. So it kind of goes either way that way with the ghost sort of stuff. And I will ask them questions. I'll be like, what are you doing here? Sometimes if it feels like they're in a bad way or having a hard time, I'll be like, do you want to go? Like I'll do psychopomp stuff which is basically just opening a portal between realms. Like you can go, you don't have to be stuck here. Most
Yeah.
ghosts aren't stuck though. Most of the time it's actually a choice. Um, where we have more stuff we're doing. So we stay in
Yeah.
ghost form to do those more stuff. So with ghost stuff, it kind of is a little bit different. With channeled history, if I go to a place where I'm like, okay, I would love to know more about, when this place was made, whether it's like an abandoned barn house somewhere out in a field in the middle of Nevada, or if it's, like a cathedral. I'm like, oh, somebody, whoever has, saw this place in a different time I would love for
Yeah.
you to come talk to me. So I kind of just
Right.
open up basically like a room, a channeling
Yeah.
room in my brain where I'm like, hey, anyone who existed in this place, I'd love to chat with you. Do you want to come share things with me? And invite someone, basically their higher self form or their form of incarnation that did exist there at some point in time to come tell me stories.
Yeah.
And
That's
then it's just like talking to someone and being like, cool, tell me stories. Why'd you pick the window over there? Like, just
yeah.
that kind
No,
of.
exactly. Yeah. Actually, I like that you kind of said like you open up this room in your brain, like in your, in your space. Because like
Mhm,
I like have been working on my own like mediumship and channeling. And I feel like I get the feelings, like I get like the tugs and sensations. Sometimes I get the
mhm.
knowing. I'm kind of like a little cafeteria style. I get a little bit of everything. Um,
Yeah.
but but doing that sort of like approach is really interesting to me, and actually I'm quite intrigued by it. I should start trying that because when I'm in like the middle of like my tarot or whatever, and people are like, oh, is there anybody here for me? I was like, I actually didn't ask. So I mean, like, how do I even? So I mean, I know it comes with time, but
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, it's like, oh, in my waiting room, yes, I have some people waiting to like taking a number.
Mhm.
Okay, like that's such a good way to look at
Yeah.
it. Sorry. um
No,
yeah,
don't apologize.
that's
Well, I have a bunch of different rooms in my brain because that's how I've like compartmentalized and organized all the different things that might be coming in. So when I'm doing like a reading for someone, I'll have typically the spirit guide room open, which kind of exists off here to my left side. They'll have the
mhm,
higher self, which is at the top of my head, and then I'll also be like viewing their energy with my eyes. And then
yeah,
if they want to do past life stuff, we'll open up the past life room. If they want to do mediumship stuff, so talk to past loved ones, I can open up that room. All
hmm,
those different things. So they kind of have different rooms and spaces. But it's really just me designating that so that I personally understand the energy I'm welcoming in.
right, yeah, I think it like comes with practice, and you're right, like you've delegated that, you've put the boundary up as like this is what we'll do when that room is open, right? And it's not like a free for all, like you don't know what you're dealing with,
Yeah.
right? Oh
Yeah.
gosh,
Well,
how
yeah,
long have
especially with mediumship stuff. It's like sometimes
yeah,
people are like, are there people there for me? I'm like, are you comfortable if I just open the doors? Like you don't have like a racist uncle you don't want to talk to or anything? Because like
ex-
we might want to limit that.
exactly, like exactly, I know it because there's some people, oh my gosh, they always ask like, oh, but like, do you ever get like evil people come through? I'm like, I don't ask them. I don't ask, you know what I mean? Like we go in there hoping like people with no like bad intentions are gonna come forward.
Yeah.
But like I'm not,
Yep.
I don't know. I'm not responsible for how you react to what's coming, right? But so now, yeah, that's fantastic. One thing I love about you, I mean, obviously your social media is amazing. So people like for the listeners, like TikTok and Instagram are huge for you right now. But then you've got your site where you
Mhm.
can subscribe. I know I was gonna say you to do this at the end, but I wanted to mention how much I love your like weekly forecasts, like your energetic forecasts are so
You.
insightful, like they're like, it makes sense. It's like, oh, that's why I feel like this. It's like because retrograde is coming, or all of this stuff. It's so relevant. Um, so I thank you for putting in that
Yeah.
time and effort for sharing that because it's hard to know where everything is. And all of a sudden, like, oh, it's Monday. Thank God, got my newsletter. it's,
I'm so
it's
glad. Yeah. So it's totally free just for anyone who wants to
yeah,
join. Like by all means, come hang out. So my website is emilydexterpsychic.com and you can just sign up for my mailing list and I send out an email every Monday with your energy forecast for the week and like things you should
yeah,
be aware of for the week ahead. Occasionally it's even talking about like what happened last week too. Like we need to recap because that was intense.
literally, yeah,
But I'm really glad it's valuable. I love putting it out there. Like it makes me feel really good that it's not just me sitting in my head being like, oh, this is coming, this is coming, this is coming, and just doing it myself and watching it unfold. I
yeah.
like being able to share that. So I'm really glad it's valuable.
Yeah, no, it totally is. One thing that always comes up is like, oh, I'm like, yeah, I'm glad it's valuable. It's not a gift unless you share it. And that is like one of the easiest ways that you can share your gift with us is just by sharing that kind of insight. Like you can see and you
Yeah.
can give us this like amazing perspective. So thank you. It's
Yeah.
truly amazing.
What I will say on that note though too is like it's not a gift if you share it. I kind of like alter that perspective a little bit because
Please.
I do think sometimes people feel a lot of pressure when they start opening up their psychic abilities. It's like,
Hmm.
what am I going to do this? How am I going to help people with this?
Yeah.
You don't have to.
Totally. And that's, I should
Totally don't.
definitely agree. It's not that you have to like be on the front line worker, helping everybody
Oh,
and this kind of thing. But yeah, it's I guess like even just discussing it so comfortably and creating a safe space. Do you know what I mean? Maybe that's a better
yes.
way to put it. Um,
Yeah. And I think like that's the biggest thing where I'm like, well, honestly, it's always just an opportunity for additional community. Like that's
yeah.
like it's your magic. You can have it however you want to have it. But truly, whenever that does open, it's hey, guess what? You can now have this access to this whole other community that's there to support you and be
Yes.
magical with you. And that's
Yeah.
incredible.
Exactly. I always find that like leading up to episodes, like little like droplets of information kind of come out like throughout the week. And I'm like,
Hmm.
what was that for? What was this for? But TikTok naturally. Was it TikTok? Yeah, it was TikTok. I don't know, remember the name of the creator, but she had said, when you're young and you have those scary instances where you see a ghost or see a spirit or have that kind of encounter, instead of seeing it as a scary experience, see it as the opportunity that you have the gift of seeing, or you have that. Do you know what I mean? And it's because you're approachable and you have the gift, whereas not everybody does. And seeing it through those kind of eyes instead. So it's always like there's always a different side of the story there where yes, it can be so
Right.
scary, all of this, but realizing that it's a gift that you have is amazing.
Yeah. And honestly, when most people have seen, when they see ghosts or whatever when they were a little kid, it's kind of the same idea, like where when you were a little kid, your grandparents' house felt huge, and then you come back and as an adult and you're like, oh wow, this is really just like a 2-bedroom farmhouse. It's like not
Yeah.
massive, but in my head, it was like this big thing. It's the same. You're viewing it through the little kid lens, and the little kid
Yeah.
lens, even though it might be your spirit guide who's just there hanging out to protect you, and you see them and they just go hi, and like now you as a little kid are like, oh my god, there's something in here talking to me, and you
Mm-hmm.
paint this as like terrifying thing. But really, when you become an adult and you look back at the channeling of it, you're like, oh no, that was just my guide saying hi. Like literally nothing scary even happened, but we
Yeah.
paint it that color. So a lot of times when
Exactly.
we do like when I do like block removals for people, or we talk about like how to overcome your fear of these psychic things, I'm like, it's not actually your fear. It's you at 6 years old. It's a 6-year-old use fear. And now if a spirit were to come into your bedroom, you'd be like, oh, could you go? Like, I'm good. I don't need you here
Yeah.
right now. And it wouldn't result in that same fear that you think it might.
No, absolutely. It makes total sense. Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. So now you've got some tweens in your house now. And again, I know we spoke on it last
Yeah.
time, but now they've, aged a little bit here too. And I believe you said, I mean, that they're all like sensitive in that sense. But they weren't really active
Yeah.
in their, what's the
Yeah.
word? I'm gonna say chores, but you know what I mean? Like they're
Journey.
not,
Yeah.
they haven't turned it on yet. Do you know what I mean? Do you think it's something that they're starting to see, like now that you're traveling with this and going all over the world?
So my eldest is very much interested in this. She's also kind of in the stage of like being afraid of spooky stuff a little bit. So
Okay.
working with her, she's 14. So, or
Hmm.
almost 14. She's about to turn 14. So very we're getting there of like where I'm like, okay, and they've asked questions. Uh, my son, my middle child, he's so sweet, but also very oblivious to everything because he's a 13-year-old boy. So
Hmm.
you know, getting him to tie his shoes is a journey. This.
Yeah.
So like that's where we're at. My youngest is very, very emotionally intuitive, and she's having a go with that
Okay.
one right now. Um,
Yeah.
when you're in middle school, that's not super helpful for you at all. So she
Yeah.
feels everybody's emotions very intensely and is
Oh
going through more of like
gosh.
her own energetic stuff that way.
Yeah.
That being said, she will go toe to toe with anyone who says magic is not real. She will launch in on that. So
Absolutely.
they are definitely opening up in their own journey space, and we talk about it and make things very natural and
Hmm.
comfortable about all of it. Because my husband's very intuitive as well, so we're
Yeah.
very
It's like,
comfortable in that sort of space.
yeah,
But yeah, so they'll get there, and I know they'll get there, and we know they'll get there. It's just like
totally.
watching their journeys unfold, is very
Right?
different. Very different than
Seriously.
mine. I
Yeah.
was like, oh, I started off super intuitive and then I shut it down. By this year age, I
Exactly.
was like, no, 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 like, don't want
Yeah.
to do that. And theirs is kind of the opposite, which I think speaks to the fact that our culture has shifted into a
Starting
space where like talking about crystals and astrology is normal.
exactly. I like again, like middle school or like we called it high school, like our grades I know are different, but even like talking about this stuff was so like non-existent. And I went to a Catholic high school as well. So it was like,
Ooh,
no.
sorry.
I know. Believe me, I like Brittany and I talk about it all the time. Like it is like religious trauma. Or like we definitely do. Not like, thank God it's not worth knocking on wood. Do you know what I mean? Like like
Hmm.
there's some very valid stuff out there, but like I'm so not in that line anymore or ever was,
Yeah.
but like
Well, what I will say, I
now,
was also raised Catholic. Like,
yeah,
oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You go.
no, go for it, girl. No, 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 you go.
Yeah. Oh, well, all I was just gonna say is I was also raised Catholic, and I will
Yeah.
say it did instill this really cool love of ritual that I didn't realize until I was later on.
Okay, okay.
Where I'm like, trying to divest my own energy from like a Catholic upbringing, which is a lot of guilt and a lot of bullshit. And you have to confess your sins at 8 years old to a priest who doesn't know you, and like
Yeah.
all sorts of weird things like that. But also, I'm like, well, like whenever I smell the smell of incense, I still feel that spiritual connection because I had it when I was really little. For those of you who maybe have
Yeah.
never been to Catholic mass, they like cover the audience in incense at one point. They go
Exactly. Like
acid incense, everybody. And so that's, I'm like, oh wow, like that's still a connection and ritual
mhm.
because the Catholic Church is like paganism under a very thin veil. It's also polytheistic, which they don't talk about, but they're very
Yeah.
polytheistic.
I would
Um,
definitely agree. Which for those who are like wondering, what does that mean? It's like multiple gods. Not
yeah,
multiple gods, but multiple versions of God. Anyways, go on. Or
yeah,
whatever.
but even the Catholic Church is very connected to like saints. They definitely connect with saints as if the saints are a deity, which is very much multiple gods.
I was gonna say they yeah, yeah, yeah. They
So, but
pray to
anyway,
certain
just
saints. Yeah.
if anyone's going through it and you mentioned Catholic high school, I'm like, well, this is how I reconciled it in a lot of
Yeah.
ways because there's a
This
lot of stuff that is religious trauma, but then there's also a lot of stuff where I'm like, wow, like took that part that they had taken from a previous pagan thing,
yeah.
and so now I'm applying it over here.
Exactly.
So,
Sorry, my nose is very runny at the moment. No, I totally agree. Yeah, I have not come on the other side of that yet. I'm still learning my way. I shouldn't say it's
mhm,
past it, but I'm looking forward. And no, nothing against my parents. Do you know what I mean? Like my mom was born Catholic, was like raised Catholic, and my dad
mhm,
became a Catholic at a late age. Like he was 40 when he converted. Like we were already part of the
mhm,
church, and they don't actually go to the church anymore either. They've, because of everything, they're like, what? Anyways. Um,
mhm,
so I'm wanting my children to like be aware of, yeah, you can be Catholic if you want, or you be Christian if you want, or you can be whatever. Do you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, it's
mhm,
like respect for people, and whatever, we believe. But then going into those big schools, like again, hundreds of children or kids or teens, I mean, hundreds or thousands in some cases, right? It's like
mhm,
being able to be a pagan if you want to, or just or an atheist that believes this, or any of that, right?
mhm.
So yeah, I
Yeah,
really want to make it like a safer environment, but I mean, you know
yeah.
how
Well,
how
honestly, well, I've been in this field a really long time, right? Like when I was a little kid, obviously I could tune in, but wasn't really in the field of it. But I started doing readings despite being utterly terrified in like high school. Like I was tuning into people's stuff for them, but I was like, no, 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 this is scary. I can't actually do this. But also, this is what your guides say you should do. But no, 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 no. Like I should,
yeah.
like very much. But basically, since high school, so I've been doing this professionally for over 10 years at this
Yeah.
point, as like a facet of earning money and doing it for people. And even 10 years ago, the way we speak about this is just not a thing.
Yeah.
Like we can speak now so freely and people can like I'm always so honored that like I can share all my weird psychic stuff and it like helps people now. Like
Oh, that's great.
it reaches
Yeah.
people and inspires people because even that like 10 years ago that wasn't even a thing. Like you couldn't really share that
Yeah.
without getting so much backlash or so much like, oh, well, go back to your weird circle hippie or whatever it is. And now it's so much changing. And like you see it the
Exactly.
most with the younger generations because for them it's normal,
Yeah.
but for us that have been here a while being like, oh, we couldn't talk about this stuff. Even if we were interested, you were privately interested, not publicly
Exactly.
interested.
Yeah.
Now that's not.
Yeah. And I've noticed that here in Ireland because we are in like the Catholic part and there are still like some devout Catholic families. Like, so I work at
Uh-huh.
a jewelry shop in town, just like on the weekends. I mean, when I don't have the children, whoop, whoop, or when dad's
Mhm.
home, anyways. And
Yeah.
because they know I do tarot and they know I'm like into this, and so I'll talk to whoever wants to talk about it. Do you know what I mean? And then
Mhm.
a couple times people have been like, shh, she won't, she's an older lady, she's more traditional. I was like, oh my God. Like,
She's
like
not gonna like this.
I don't like what you're talking about. She might, it's like, okay, well, I mean, that's fine. Again, I don't
Mhm.
press it because obviously,
Yeah.
but it is so strange to me that it's just an old culture here, right? And again, like that's Carrie for you. That's just, it's old.
What I'll say though, which is so funny because when we were there, I was kind of I'm feeling that out because again, also in like And then we notice this in Greece too, like very Greek Orthodox church. It's very,
Yeah,
very present. But they'll also be like, here's the evil eye, keep it on you. You keep the evil eye on your person. So no evil energy comes to you. I'm like,
yeah,
that's real witchy of you. But same thing with
exactly.
Ireland. Like even this driver was a retired policeman and he was very Catholic. And at one point, I was talking to him and I was like, oh, like, so what is your feelings about the fairies? He's like, oh, I don't believe in them. I don't believe in them. But also, you don't mess with them either. You don't mess with I'm like, sounds like you believe in them,
I was
sir, a
gonna
little bit.
say, yeah, yeah,
Uh,
literally. And that's exactly like you definitely get both of those sides here. Like actually, the farmer, like just down the road, right? Like he's an
mhm,
old Catholic gentleman, but yeah, he's like fully aware that it's what it is, and he's like, well, like, just, you can go in, just because I wasn't going to trespass to go in there, but anyways, I'm like, yeah, you all say you don't believe, but then you do. But I
yeah.
definitely there is a new culture, like obvious, the awakening that's been happening for a couple of years now, or a few years now. It is slowly coming here, and I feel like because I've had some mediumship nights or like reading nights and like trying to like get the environment kind of together here. Honestly, it would be
Mhm,
amazing to just again just make it more of a thing, but one step at a
mhm.
time. But I was shocked when there
Yeah.
wasn't any. There's no real shops. Not like it needs to be like a brick and mortar or whatever thing,
Yeah.
but there's like in the town of Killarney, there's like which is where I am. There's two shops that are like holistic health that they sell some crystals, like very small selection, and like that's it.
Mhm,
I mean, and that's it for the
yeah.
whole town. You have to travel
When we
to
were
find
in
one shop.
Killarney, I was trying to find one. I was like, there's got to be something here. You're at the
Nothing.
edge of the
Yeah.
country.
There's literally
Like
like
the town where they have the festival with the goat.
yes,
That
yeah,
shop.
Clorglen. Yeah, that is Crystal Cove. They are my people. They're like so they're worth the trip, but it is yeah, the goat people. Oh yeah, were you here for that? For the festival?
We were literally, it was the day after we were leaving.
Yeah. Oh wow.
So we
Okay.
we got to see it all set up and we got to
Yeah.
drive by the goat. Also hilarious because again, our tour guide who doesn't believe in any of this is like, oh, it's the oldest festival in Ireland because the goat came down and told the people the invaders were coming and then the invaders whatever. And so now we celebrate the
Yeah.
goat. And like Krista and I are sitting there and we look at each other and we're like, it was a fairy, right? Like we're very confident the goat was a fairy.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember the
um
name of it.
I don't
Gosh, it's
I don't
so
remember it
annoying.
either, but
But yeah, but every year they get like a goat and like put him
yes.
in a cage. It sounds so inhumane, but he's like protected and he's like suspended above the town or like, view of this whole thing. Actually, I went there accidentally this summer because I was going to Crystal Cove and I
Mhm.
like forgot that this festival's on and it is huge. Like it is like streets are blocked down. Like so I like, oh my God, me and my daughter had gone and I'm like, this is a disaster. Why did we decide to do this? But so it was chaos, but we did it. We did what needed to do, got in, got out, happy days. But my
Yeah.
gosh, yeah. Oh, yeah, it's fantastic. But yeah, you have to go to like those places. But I mean, now you've been to Clorglen. There you go.
Yes.
Because really,
Hmm.
the next one after that would be like Mallow, which is like 2 hours away to or an hour and a half anyway. So it's like, and that's
Yeah.
just crystals, just crystals. There's no real like, yeah. So I don't
Metaphysical
know,
shops.
nothing. I'm
Hmm.
working on my own like I hate so you would probably get this too. Like when you're being called to do something and
Hmm.
like, oh, like I have a new line. I'm like, I don't have a new line. I'm like, people don't have to buy it. I just want to make it. We're like, it's like it's not because I want to make profit on it. It's just because I'm supposed to. I know I'm supposed to, and this is what I'm doing. So I'm starting to
Hmm.
do sprays and I'm gonna do some soaks and I'm gonna do some other
Oh,
things. And
that's
I'm like,
amazing.
oh, this will be great. So it's been really great and I'm loving it. But it is like one of those like, oh, but like I suppose like I should tell people about it. I haven't done much of like my advertising yet, but like, oh, like maybe I'll have a shop. Like I have an Etsy shop. Like maybe one day,
I
like I
mean,
don't
you
know.
could.
You could definitely do it. There's definitely a market here, I think. But anyways, but
Uh-huh.
it's it's one of those things. Yeah, like again, it's like when you have something and you're like, oh, but I hate the fact that I have to put a price tag on it. But it's like, but you have to. You need the exchange. You need the exchange.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, you need an
It's
exchange. But
it's an energy investment thing too. Like it's not bad. Like I think we have this belief too that it's like inherently negative to spend money on things.
yeah,
We have like, a lot of shame around spending money on things
yeah,
because we are like, well, we have to keep it safe and we have to stay and totally. And like I've been super duper duper poor in my life, like buy dinner at the dollar store levels of poor before. And then Now I'm not in that same way, and I have had the same amount of guilt in both scenarios about spending money on anything.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those like through lines that we have. And so I think part of the reason oftentimes our guides or our journeys like pushes us to put product out there for actual monetary value is because
Yeah.
we also are trying to heal that. They're like, you have to heal these things. Like this is not
Lit-
what you're supposed to feel about it.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And actually with these like spiritual nights I've been doing, like I'm like, okay, this is what I would charge like for I and it's public knowledge. I charge 40 euros for like it's 40 minutes to an hour. Sometimes it's 90 minutes. That's just what I do. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, and I don't know. I use all the decks. It's just, that's my our little team of people. They're like, oh, well, that's too much. Like we charged 50 for 4 services essentially. I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, that's all I'm saying. I'm like, somebody needs, not because we need to make money, but we need to exchange something. That's just what I know. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to push. I'm not trying to make money off of this, but we need an exchange. It's the most awkward conversations ever. But you're right.
Also, like you also have to eat and like, you have to make a livelihood off it too. And it is
Yeah.
one of the oldest professions that exists on the planet. And it's
Yeah.
always been something that money's exchanged for. It shows that it has value. On
Yeah.
top of that, though, money is just trust made tangible. Like when I look at the energy of the money, it's exactly the same as the energy of trust. So it's just the way we've agreed in this world to exchange trust in a physical way.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. My God, you're so
Hmm.
full of all the things. Um, yeah. So you've got some other trips in that coming up too, right? I think your next one
Yeah.
is okay. I looked at the email. I forgot which one it is already. No, where are you going this time? I'm sorry.
No, so actually this weekend I'm going to Mexico.
Oh.
So we're going down to Mexico partly because we need a fucking break and partly because I'm gonna do some channeled history stuff down there and some of the ruins and that sort of space and
Yeah.
also we're gonna do like an ancient Mayan ceremony. It's gonna be really interesting. So doing that
Very
this
good.
weekend. Then the next group trip that we're going on, so that's just me and my husband going down there. The next group trip that we're going on is we are going to Egypt in March.
Yes. Oh my
Uh,
gosh.
yes, we're going to Egypt. It's currently pretty much full, I believe. So I would have to
Wonderful.
double check on that one. But yeah, it's coming up. Really excited.
Oh my God.
Um, gonna be so neat. It's gonna be really amazing. Krista's been there before.
Yeah.
So they have things like we should channel this here and that there, but really, really excited, very drawn to that. We'll
Yeah.
probably do Egypt again in the future too, because I know a lot of
Yeah.
people really want to go, and it's one of those places where you can't really go by yourself very easily. So
No,
it's a great
exactly. If you're looking
place.
for an
Mhm.
excuse to do something like this, my gosh, that sounds
Yeah.
amazing.
Then we're going to Italy with the group. So if you want to
Mm.
come with us to Italy and go to some of the places where I like channeled in La Costa and this stuff, like I kind of threw a fit with the tour company. I'm like, we have to go to this place. I don't care if it's not on the normal itinerary. Like, we are going here.
Exactly.
And they
Yeah.
totally obliged. So we're doing that. So we're going to do Rome and Florence and some Tuscany stuff.
Wow.
And it's going to be really fun because we're going to do the Roman Forum and channel some stuff there. And then we're going to do Ostia Antica for a day and channel some stuff there, which is that, Pompeii, but no volcano.
Yeah.
And then we're also going to do the Vatican, and we're going to go through the Vatican. We're going to channel objects in the Vatican to see if we can figure out where they came from and any stories they have to tell
Oh,
us. Oh, it's going to be super fun. So we're doing that in May. And we do have some space left on that one. And then we're also going to do Japan in August.
that is so cool.
So
The
yeah.
diversity of like all of this is so amazing. So like I can't
Yeah, really
imagine
stoked on it.
a wild ride of people that you will meet. Do you know what I mean? Like this is so cool.
Oh yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I'd be
So in
so
Japan,
curious.
we're basically doing like a shrine tour and
Okay.
going to like some of the oldest neighborhoods in Tokyo, Osaka, and Kyoto. So we're going to different shrines, one of which has like sacred streams that flow through that you're allowed to drink from and get imbued with the energy of. And we're going to channel also Shintoism as I'm really passionate about Shintoism. I think it's beautiful and incredible. And they basically have the understanding that everything is a consciousness, which it does. So we're going to talk to the ancient Shinto spirits that are around us and hang out there too. So I'm really
Wow.
excited. And the diversity is really it's so neat and it's you do it in the group and it's like a crash course. Whenever you get a group of spiritual people together, like the energy activation just magnifies like almost
Right?
infinitely. You get so much more out of 3 days in a group where you can be authentically spiritually yourself than you get out of a week with people that you don't really vibe with. Like it's
Exactly.
such a different thing. So to go to these places that are already super activated with people that you can be as weird and talk about whatever the heck you want. No one's going to judge you. Everyone's
Yeah.
going to care about you and like your journey and your experience. And in the words of one of our tour guides, you come as strangers, but you leave as family, which is exactly how his accent sounded. This is not me
Also,
watching.
that was an amazing impression.
Thank you.
Just a subtle little like,
Shout
oh,
out to
she does
Malcolm. He's the
accents.
best.
Oh, that's so wonderful. Honestly, like, yeah, you're right. Like, what an
Really,
amazing environment.
But yeah. And then we're also doing, we actually, if you guys want to come hang out with us, we're doing a weekend conference. Krista and Rebecca, the Ghost Guide. I don't know if you know Rebecca, the Ghost Guide, but she also has a very big like TikTok, Instagram, YouTube sort of
I think
presence.
I've seen,
We got together and we created Sacred Spaces Gathering. It's the last week of January in Richmond, Virginia. And it's a weekend. We have keynote speaking. So I'm going to do a keynote. And we have workshops and we're going to have a vendor fair with a bunch of like high vibe vendor stuff. We also have like for VIPs, we're doing like speed reading, like speed dating.
yeah,
But
reading. I love that.
doing like reading for
That's
everybody.
such a great idea.
And yeah, it's a weekend. It's
Oh, that's
so
so
fun.
cool. In
I'm so
Vermont.
excited.
Vermont in January. Sounds like a
Virginia.
dream. Oh, Virginia.
Virginia.
Vermont too, but yeah,
Mhm.
Virginia, definitely.
Yeah, Vermont would be great. But no, yeah, Richmond, Virginia. So that's where we're hosting it. It's called Sacred Spaces Gathering, which if you guys want to check it out, sacredspacesgathering.com. We do still have some tickets available for that too. And again, it's just a weekend. It's really casual and it's just so you guys people can come and make friends and hang out together and explore spirituality in like a responsible and ethical way. That's kind of like the premise.
I love that.
So yeah,
Oh,
it's gonna be
so
really fun. I'm
good.
really excited about it.
That's amazing. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, you've got so many beautiful things coming up. I was gonna ask you about one more thing. Oh yes, your writing. Okay, or your so you okay, because I did put in an entry for this. Okay, this is such a jumble of all the things that people are not gonna know what I'm talking about. Okay, so
It's all good.
very bare bones.
Mostly what I do is a jumble of all the things.
It's all good. It comes out one way, right? So basic like you have an idea of a book, let's say a book. So you help us find that character in history, meet them, and then create the writing process after that. So I have like an idea for a book or a novel or something that I want to write myself, through your assistance, through this kind of application process. I submit my idea to you and works out. Then we can kind of bounce back and then travel through those yards of time and dimension to find this character who lived, right? My understanding is that every character you've ever written about or read about exists somewhere.
Yes. 100%. So everything exists in energetic reality. If you think about it, all the characters, everything from Luke Skywalker to Winnie the Pooh, like they all exist. They're all around. They all hang out. They're actually real. All the things we're able to channel in and connect with and use as entertainment are things that can exist on this plane of reality, even if it's not in our current line of reality, it's on this plane. So yeah, everything we spent all fiction, in my opinion, stories are the way we heal the world. Stories are the way that we activate people. Stories are magic. And a while ago we started consuming stories and not listening to them. And so we created the Forgotten Storytellers, which is the program you're talking about, where we help people write their fiction book in alignment with their guides and their characters, their higher self, and their astrology.
Yeah.
So if you have an idea for a fiction book, whether that is a historical fiction where you're like, I want to write about, the Victorian England, or if it's just a magical fiction, fantasy or horror or suspense or whatever, romance, whatever it is you want to write about, you can submit a pitch to us. And then we run the Forgotten Storytellers. It's basically a 4-month program. And by the end of that program, you have the first draft of your book written, as well as an understanding of the characters you've been channeling and talking to, how to channel in your guides, how to pull and release your own blocks. Like we do a ton of stuff. It's like 50% spiritual and then 50% book writing. And then we also have our own publishing company too. So we only ever publish Forgotten Storytellers books. So there's also a pathway for you afterwards.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, because I submitted and like we had an email correspondence of like, oh, we should do this. And I can't remember. I think I was sick. I can't remember what happened. But I was like, I'll contact you. And it was like, oh yeah, I think it was earlier this year. And then I kind of got like deported a bit, just a little bit. Like my visa ran out here, so I couldn't stay here. And my daughter couldn't enter Canada, but then it was ridiculous. Anyways, it was a whole schmoz. I was back in Canada for 3 months unexpectedly, which was just just me and my daughter. So my husband and son were here. Anyways, happy days. I'm allowed to stay, guys. Everything's good. I'm good now. But I'm pretty sure it was about that time where I'm like, I'm sick, I'm run down, and I'm like stressed to the nines. So
Yeah.
I'll
But
see.
whenever you want to reach back out,
Yeah, let's
we'd
do.
love to have you in
Honestly,
the program.
yeah. I think it's like one of those things. I'm like, oh, do I have time to write a book? I'm like, but you know what? Like, I want to do more stuff that I want to do. Do you know what I mean? I think that's like important for everybody. Like it's, and I don't want to say like, oh, it's a new year coming because it's not related to that. But it's like I need to start doing things that I want to do.
Yeah.
Because I, you know,
I
because
agree.
I should do that. I should be able to do that anyways. So that's one of those things I want to do. Write a book lesson.
I will say time and money are the two things we use as excuses more than they're actually excuses.
Yeah.
That's like the things that we install for ourselves to like hide our limiting beliefs about why we couldn't do it. We're like, oh, it's just time. Or like, oh, I just couldn't, I just can't do that right now. And I'm not saying that's all, like, I'm saying there's
Nope,
some excuses
totally. You're
very
good.
valid. Those are one where I'm always like, when people are like, oh, we don't have time. I'm like, yeah, I understand. But also, do you not have time or do you just think you do not have time because
Yeah.
you might have things going on? So
Exactly. Yeah.
just food for thought there.
Yeah.
But of course, divine timing as well. If you don't have time, you don't have time.
That's what I
But
mean.
you
I
know,
think there's a time and a place for everything, but I think it was such a great like creative outlet as well for those people who are like, you know, have ever had that idea and just don't know where to start. So I think that, you know, even though it's a spiritual route, whether they're ready for that experience yet, I think it's
Mhm.
great to know that like, oh, it's like this coached environment where, you know, I could do it with somebody, but it's mine. I mean, anyway, so
Mhm. Oh yeah,
people get
yeah,
creative if you
100%.
want. And then I'll make
Yeah.
sure to take that in our show notes as well. But we are coming to
Mhm.
our hour end here, my dear.
No.
I was going to do a quick little pull of a card, but while I'm shuffling here, was there anything else we didn't really touch on that you want to chat about, or a message for our people? Anything?
Yeah. So as far as like stuff to chat about, I mean, if anyone's interested in working with me in any way, Emily Dexter, psychic.com is the easiest way to go. My social media is Liker of Words on everything. I'm on YouTube, I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok. I do readings. I have courses too you can take. I just launched a new one very recently. It's called Harmony of Echoes, Crafting Your Own Secret Language with the Universe. Basically, throughout the course, you learn what words the universe are sending and the definition of those words, and words you can send back to the universe and the definition of those words. And by the end, you have like a dictionary of your own language with the universe, so you actually understand how the universe communicates, which is one of my favorite things I've ever done for myself. It's so helpful. I use it literally all the time. So I've given that out. So there's that as well. As far as a message for everybody, though, just to highlight this right now, and I know everybody's feeling this. This is why I'm like bringing it up. From basically the end of November through about the middle of January, our energy kind of has gone into a hibernation a little bit. It's a lull, it's a pause, it's the pendulum's not swinging at all.
Mhm.
And that is very frustrating for most of us. It's a
Mhm.
good thing, but it feels yuck.
Yeah.
And so I just want to point that out. If you're feeling that, if you're like, nothing's moving, I don't have clarity on anything, I just feel like I'm sitting here feeling all my feelings. Yes, that's
Yeah.
right. That's what you're doing right now.
That's what you're supposed
It
to
is
be
really
doing.
a time. So I really recommend just try to do one thing that is kind of fun every day. Also, don't avoid the feelings and processing if they come up. Try to do anything you can to like process what you're feeling, because in this pause moment, the things that we've been running from come to us and show up for us so that we can move beyond the pause moment
Mhm.
and move forward, which isn't pleasant, and get the help that you need. I mean, mental health stuff is important if that's where you're at, like whatever it is, but just know that it's not just you. Everybody's kind of collectively going through this right now of like,
Mhm.
what is even going on? And then once we hit that middle of January piece, I think a lot of the energy is going to kind of burst back to life.
Thank
So
God.
yeah,
Thank
just
God.
throwing that in.
No, I think that I totally feel that. I know that like I've seen it firsthand, and like, you know, all of a sudden like things are coming up that I'm like, why? Why now? Why now? It's oh, because I haven't dealt with you yet. Oh, I didn't process you right. Oh, I get it. So reevaluate those things, guys. Deal with your shit. That's okay.
Mhm.
I love that. Thank you so much. Yeah, well, we don't have a full date for when we're gonna post this up, but I think it'll be before the end of the year anyways. It's December or something. Yeah, so it'll come out.
Yeah.
But okay, so my people, what are we? This is my animal spirit with Kim Kranz. Actually, she's Californian. She's amazing. Do you know who Kim Kranz is?
I know that deck. I've
Oh,
used the deck before, but I have not
oh,
worked with her at all.
it's my favorite. She's fantastic. And she's like an artist, and I just like adore her anyways. But the camel, which is really applicable because you are going to
I
Egypt,
am.
sorry. Okay, let's see
No,
here.
I'm gonna ride camels there too. So
That sounds cool. Camel. Okay, where are you? This is like the thing. Like I always say when I'm, because I use this in my like regular readings. I'm like, I don't have this book memorized because there's literally so much. And depending on what you feel and see at that time, right? So the camel is resourceful, independent, and knows oneself. The camel can handle absolutely anything as it carries a wealth of nourishment within. This wondrous creature is self-reliant and handles challenge with ease. Even in the face of excess heat, judgment, or anger, the camel searches inside for the cool elixir of water to calm the situation. The camel represents the ultimate form of bringing opposites into balance, fire and water, and being responsible for one's own reactions. The camel is a wonderful traveler and is especially fond of trips to faraway lands. So when we're in balance, we are calm, content, and we have a sparkle in our eye. When we're out of balance, we're dehydrated, lacks vitality. To bring into balance, a pilgrimage. Guys, get booking those trips or looking into it. Push yourselves. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh, that's fabulous.
I do think that there's something that's going to come up probably between January and like March for a lot of people where that feeling of 2020 is going to come back. Not the oh my God, we're in a pandemic feeling, but I'm actually going to dedicate time to me and I'm going to explore myself. And so even if it's like an actual physical adventure, amazing. But if it's also just like self-exploration coming back to the surface of being like, why do I feel like I'm back in 2019 where I was sacrificing everything for job or whatever? I'm not going to do that again. I think we're going to swing back in a really healthy, grounded, more permanent way because you've already experienced like a taste of it. Now it's like, how can this actually be life? So I feel like that's coming. And so that really, I think is a very timely pull for a lot of people.
Oh, I think so too. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I can kind of see that like, it was like we're backsliding a little bit. And it's like, no. I was much happier, even though the world was on fire. I was like, I knew what was important. Right? Sometimes it's not work. So wonderful. Well, Miss Emily, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure. Honestly, like even like when I first like pressed record, I was like, oh my God, she's here. Hello. Fangirl moment. Like I just like love it. Anyways. So yeah, everybody can find you on Instagram, TikTok. Sorry, I know you already said it, but maybe one more time if that's okay.
Yeah. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. I'm really trying to grow YouTube presence over there. I do a lot of I'm trying to do at least one TikTok live every week. If you can't catch it on TikTok, I do post it on my YouTube so you can watch the replays of that. Just like hang out and answer questions and just vibe. we just hang out. So yeah, if you want to participate in any of that, like or of words, and again, that subscription newsletter, totally free for everybody. It's just so I can send you a newsletter every Monday. That's also on my website. So
perfect. Yeah, no, I totally agree.
For having me.
This has been so good. Honestly, like I said, like you were a pleasure, you were a joy, and I'm like, I'm so thankful. So thankful. So yes. Yeah, I know Brittany when things settle down for her, I know she'd love to have you back if we're up for it again, see what it happens to look like. But in the meantime, people, you can find us on, where can you find us? TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, at Basic Banter for Witches, or email. You can email us, basicbanterforwitches@gmail.com. So that's where we are attainable. Well, thank you, Emily. You just are so sweet. I really appreciate every ounce of energy that you've given me today. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And
oh my gosh, absolutely. Truly my pleasure. And I'd love to come back.
Please.
I'd love to come back.
I'm like, please come back.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I'd love to. Great.
Yeah. Well, you stay where you are. I'm going to end this up and we'll see you guys next week or soon. Bye.